Alright guys, I'm stripping this roof. I just sprayed just aerosol paint stripper over it and left some plastic sitting on it for about 10 or 15 minutes. It lifted it really well right in here, but it didn't really wrinkle at all like I had hoped, but it did soften it a pretty good bit. You can see this is some I've been scraping off. It's really soft. I'm just going through here. We'll do the other half in a minute, but I'm just going through with a real sharp blade, and I'm just going to take all this paint off down to the original until I get all of it off. Best thing to do would be to strip it. It's got at least 3 or 4 layers of paint on it, so I'm just going to work my way across the roof here, taking it off. And once I'm done cutting all the paint off here, I'm going to neutralize this stuff with some water. But I need to leave it on here right now till I at least get it scraped off, and I'll clear all this away and then just wipe it down with water. And it doesn't matter if it gets on the metal, I'm going to sand this anyway, so any light rust that it creates will come right back off. I'm just going to go down all the way through. It's softened it enough I can take pretty much every layer off at once. You can see all the different paint jobs it's had. There's 3 or 4 there. It looks like it's softened at least all the original, or down to the original, so I'm just going to take all this off, wet it, clean it off real good, then I can start sanding it once it's dry. Alright, got the roof ready to prime. Just got this primer I put on the cowl, just sanded back a few inches. I'm just going to stop my primer just shy of the tape right there so I can blend the two together. I'm going to go up to A pillars on either side. I'm going to overlap. I'm actually going to come down about 1/8 of an inch and put more primer in here, just because I've sanded through the edge. And I took a Scotch-Brite around the whole inside edge of this flange before I taped it off, so everything will stick. And then I'll finish sanding it later when I get ready to paint. Didn't need any filler in the whole front of it. It's straight. There's one dent right here in the seam, right behind this brazing. This was a little bit rippled. There was filler there to begin with. Took that out and redid it. A couple little dents and dings here and there, 4 or 5 different places. Pretty straight overall. This area was a little bit rippled, so I took all the filler and primer they had. Whoever did this first, took that back out. Just going to start over. No filler in this A pillar at all. Same thing over here. Just going to overlap my primer so I can put a joint in it. I'll get you set up here in a second. I'm going to get the epoxy on it, then I got to wait about 45 minutes to put the high build primer on. Alright, high build primer is next. Alright, this is high build primer. Alright, this will get 2 more coats. See you when it's done. Alright, I've moved on to the quarter panel. I'm actually working on the other side, but I've set my tram gauge on this side. Get a little more view there. I've set the tram gauge to where the wheel well sits. I'm gonna match the other side. It's a little bit too far out. I'm not gonna match it to the wheel just in case the wheel's in the wrong position. So I'm gonna match the body mounting points on each side, get it in the right place, and we can address any suspension problems later. So I've got that just resting right on the top of the striker. I've got the other pointer just inside the tail light pocket. And I've got this pointer set to where the quarter is. So I'm just gonna take this, flip it around to the other side, and check the other side. All right, back on the other side. I've just flipped it over like this to give me the mirror image. I can't flip it lengthwise or this pointer will be off. So I just flipped it over like this. We're gonna see how far off we are. Probably a good 1/4 inch out too far. I can't get the back piece into the taillight pocket, so I'm gonna have to loosen this to see how far in it would have to go. But I don't want to lose this point, so I'm just gonna push this in until I get it to where all 3 points line up like the other side. And I'll be back whenever I get that done, and I'll start this body work. All right, I've got this thing out as far as I can get it without buckling the panel. Well, I went in with it, but I've got it in as far as I can go. I've got a couple waves here, and I'm gonna have to pull just right here on the end just to straighten it up, but I'm trying to get the actual edge in the right position, then I can work the steel on the outside there. And this wasn't even welded when it was replaced to the inner wheelhouse, so I've got about 5 welds in it that I've added. And that's plenty just to hold it to that, and then I'm gonna roll this fender lip in. Customer wants all these rolled to fit these wheels, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this right here in the right position. But now I'm gonna move up here where it was seamed in right along this peak. Right along here, I'm gonna have to just grind all the filler out, and it comes up into here where it's starting to crack. So this weld goes, I can see from the backside, this weld goes up here and across into the trunk. So I'll have to just, this in here may be good enough to just smooth out and prime, get rid of the scratches that are in the filler. But I've got to at least re-weld everything where it's cracked, and all this out here is not even fully welded. I can see from the backside. So I'm gonna take this all back to the steel, take the filler out, and then just fully weld it all the way so it won't crack again. And then come up this way, dig all this out, see what I got to do there. But for right now, I'm gonna just grind the filler out and see where I end up, and then I'll hit this spot here. It'd really be better to wait till I roll this to do any final filler work there, but I can rough it in. And everywhere else it's just door dings, and I'll sand all this paint down. As long as it's stuck real good, I'll go through this finish and be able to prime over it. It seems to be adhered pretty well, but we'll see when I start sanding it how it feathers out. Okay, you can see now what's going on. I think they just trimmed it too far and didn't bother welding it. Put it in here, and they welded it in the corner. One right there. There's one there, and then there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 more welds within about 12 inches. So I'm gonna have to take this gap, and I'm just gonna have to tack it till I fill this gap up. I could lay a piece back behind here, reach in behind with a piece of steel, but I'm gonna have just as much weld on it if I do it that way, and I might as well just fill it in. I'm gonna go back and forth around it. This right here, you can see there's just a slit where they butted it and didn't even bother welding any of this. Just enough to hold it in. So I'm gonna fill this up. If you put a plate back behind it, then you got something you're gonna really have to put seam sealer on to seal it off, or try to just flood it with some primer. And it's really hard to get back inside there where it is. It's way back above the wheel well. You can see through there, but tight access. So I'm just going to go through and work off the welds that are there. Just build off of those, go both directions off that one. Same thing here, just go that direction till I fill it up. And I'll put some really strong fiberglass filler over this as a base, just to hold it down, stiffen it up. And then I'll put some regular filler over it. There was way too much filler on this anyway. This is not really that low. There's probably a 1/4 inch thick of filler on this, and they just let it ooze into the quarter. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this tack weld done here, and then I'll move on down to the wheel well area. All right, I don't know if I've shown you yet, but I got this fully welded. I still have a spot right here where it was cracked, and this was rusty down in here, so I'm gonna patch this piece here, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut all this down so I can get some filler over this bare metal and seal it up. So I'm just gonna work this one section, then I'll finish that, and I'll come back down here to the wheel well. I'll straighten all this, get it in the right place, and then I'll roll that fender lip under there with the fender roller, and then I'll body work the outside. I don't want to do any body work until I actually get this in the right place and roll that lip in case anything changes. I don't want body filler on it when I do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind all this off. I'm gonna get some fiberglass filler ready for that. All right, quick update. Got the filler on this joint. I still need to finish welding back here, so I haven't gone up here with the filler just because it would melt it off the body. So I've just gone up here, and I can redo this area here if I need to take some of that back out. But I'm trying to get the metal sealed off. This area in here, get this filled. It's not as critical as out here. The glass goes over this, so this can just be primed and sanded out flat. This area out here I had to build a little bit just because that area was a little bit low. So I've got fiberglass filler underneath and a couple layers of regular filler there that I sanded most of off. So I'm going to finish this area, and then I'll have this 1/4 splice finished. Then I need to come down here and finish the wheel lip, and there's a couple little dings here and there, but that's about it. And I've got the sunroof stripped, had 2 dents in it. I'm about to spray this with epoxy, get about 3 layers of primer on it. May not need 3 on the whole thing, but at least 2, and then I'll put a 3rd over just the center right here where the body work is, so I have plenty to block. I went all the way around the edges, had to do those by hand. They're not exactly flat, so sander won't take that off easily, and won't get all the way down in the middle of that recess. It's a 90-degree bend, but that's not exactly flat right there on the side, so that paint was not stuck. Whoever painted it last time didn't sand that edge, so I went all the way through. There's a little bit of red left, that's original. So it'll stick to everything now. I'm gonna get this primed. I'm gonna wait to do that till I get the body work completely done and get the rest of the quarter ready to go, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this sealed up and done since it's in bare metal. Okay, this is epoxy. All right, how build will be next. Okay, I've got a patch welded in here now. I've welded, it's probably an inch long by about 3/4 wide just in this area. Went ahead and welded up some holes I found over here. I'm gonna have to add some filler to the outside where I had to burn it off. But I went ahead and covered this up the other day just to keep the metal sealed off. So I'm gonna add a little filler here. Now this is gonna be fiberglass filler. Add some here and all these welds to build up just an initial layer. Then I'll come back and finish the outside and put another coat on top of this also with some regular filler. And I'll block the rest of this out. And then I'll scuff over all this bare metal again right before I prime all this, but we got to go ahead and do the rest of the body work on the quarter. We'll start on that while this filler's setting up.